Tens of thousands flee India's Manipur State. Since May, brutal scenes of violence have left over 1,000 injured and almost 200 dead. With national security forces now on the ground, Manipur may be calmer, but the state's civil war continues, with the government proving ineffective to stop it. I'm Andrea Sankey, and today's newsmaker is Manipur. Well, the headlines may not be as dramatic as a few months ago, but what's effectively a state of war in India's far northeastern Manipur continues. Tens of thousands of national troops have not been able to stop villages from being burned and violent assaults, reported by both the minority Kuki and majority Meithi communities. In a few minutes, we'll get analysis from both sides. But first, a look at how Manipur's conflict has developed.
In the last 5 months, the northeastern Indian state of Manipur has seen shocking violence marked by sexual assault and torture. Clashes between Meithi and Kuki communities have killed at least 180 people and displaced thousands. Mostly, Hindu Meithi tribes live in the prosperous valleys in Manipur and make up around 53% of the population, while the mainly Christian Kuki minority reside in the surrounding hills. Decades-long tensions between the two communities turned into a violent standoff in May. Kuki groups protested against a plan to give the Meithis scheduled tribal status that would see the Meithis get reserved quotas of government jobs, college admissions, and permission to buy lands in the hills. The Kukis, who already have that status, believe the move will endanger their benefits and expand the already strong Meithi influence on state administration and economy.
Everyone is divided and everyone is fighting each other, actually makes it as close to civil war as it could be.
In late September, the murder of 2 Meithi students sparked violent protests in the state. Some demonstrators tried to attack the chief minister's house as police fired tear gas. Authorities have declared an indefinite curfew in some areas of Manipur, including the state capital, Imphal.
Long time back, we heard that they were killed at some Churachandpur area, but now their dead bodies are being viral. We found that in the Facebook page, and we really are very shocked. They had no weapons; they were just simple, innocent kids.
After those photos surfaced, the state government reimposed a ban on mobile internet services after briefly lifting the restrictions announced in May. Last week, the Senapati District Students Association imposed an indefinite economic blockade demanding an end to the internet blackout. Hundreds of trucks have been stranded on a major highway, which was considered a lifeline for the state. And Internet Freedom Foundation Director Apar Gupta says the state government is restricting internet access to hide what is happening in Manipur.
Given the extensive period of the continuing internet shutdown, it is fair to assert that it serves the interest of the government more than the citizens, as it reduces the accountability and the demands citizens are making to the government.
The Meithi community has also criticized Chief Minister Biren Singh, who is also a Meithi and ruling BJP member, for doing little to stop the violence. While the Kukis say the state government is allowing the Meithis to act with impunity.
The Kukis cannot live in a state it doesn't believe in, a state that has discriminated, oppressed, and persecuted our people. Separate administration is our constitutional right. The right to be treated equally and with dignity is our birthright.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also come under fire over the crisis. Despite deploying national troops in Manipur, the central government has failed to quell the unrest, and the main opposition Congress party accuses Modi of abandoning the state.
That Manipur has come to this horrendous situation just about 15 months after the BJP got a huge mandate in the state is the most damning indictment of its policies and the Prime Minister's priorities.
Meanwhile, the cycle of violence and atrocities continues to blight Manipur.
Now, while atrocities continue, so does what many describe as political inaction. Well, joining me now to debate what's driving this conflict now are both from New Delhi, Kuki social activist Hejang Misao, and Malem Ningthouja is the founder of Campaign for Peace and Democracy, and he's the author of Diametrical Nationalism, Rulers, Rebels, and Masses in Manipur. Thanks both so much for being with me. You know, I was hoping when we covered Manipur on the program just a few months ago that our follow-up would be about progress made, and instead it seems only a national military presence has served to quell some of the violence. So, Hejang Misao, why has nothing seemed to improve?
Honestly speaking, the whole issue is already political in nature, and it needs strong political will from the central government to bring about peace in the region. Now, in spite of the government assurance of bringing back normalcy, there are lots of narrative being changed, even by the state government, and at the same time by the central government, for which I find the government doesn't come up with a very strong will to bring political solution through political dialogue and political process. Now, there has been like information going around in our community. What we said is like the Meithi community, once they stop attacking us, normalcy will come back. But unfortunately, the same misleading information has been already spread among the Meithi community, where they believe the same thing, saying that if the Kuki stop attacking them, normalcy will come back. But the ground reality is as I'm from the ground, I just came out just a few days back from the ground. Now, the attack so far which are happening is all from the, what I find is from the Meithi community. Just yesterday itself, a place called Tuisin area was under attack again. And unfortunately, the local media spread another narrative saying that the Kuki militant is coming down from the hills and attacking the Meithi community. So this kind of misinformation, which are far from the truth from the ground, is also misleading people. And then there are also lots of people who are buying this kind of false narrative, and then the anger is fueling from one another. That's why normalcy is still a far-fetched price for both the community.
Okay, Malem, are you on the same page there in that at least a lot of misinformation is fueling violence?
Yes, definitely. In a crisis like this, the opponents often come up with lots of propaganda narratives. I would not say that this is correct, this is wrong, whatever it is, but we all know that everywhere in the world, there are peace-loving peoples. There are also other sections of the society who want the violence to perpetuate. So like both these sections are operating at their own level. Well, the government has come up with a new rule saying that, you know, like uploadings of videos on the incidents would be checked and all. I don't know how far it's going to be effective. What Ms. Howe is saying is truth, but you know, it's from both sides. It is not from one side. People who want to aggravate the situation will do all these kinds of campaigns, whether it be Kuki or whether it be Meithis, or it could be other communities who want these two communities to fight, right? So
Explain
the problem
that then.
is,
And I mean,
yes,
in whose interest is it, especially outside these two parties, to perpetuate this violence?
I would definitely say that some stupid people are blindly following the provocations. Otherwise, I think that there are elements, reactionary elements, that works in collusion with powerful external forces, which are directly or indirectly funded by crony capitalists and powerful finance imperialists that want to perpetuate conflict and classes and violence to divide the people. I would definitely say there are other forces, but I don't want to point out who is that, who is not that, but you know, some big powerful forces are behind.
I actually just need you to help us understand then what exactly is going on, because then how can this be solved? I mean, the two of you sound like very rational characters, even though you kind of are on opposite sides of this conflict. So, I mean, what is stopping men like the two of you from helping solve this violence, helping stop this descent further into war?
I think there is still...
Hold on, Malem, go ahead, and then Hejang.
I think some people are still benefiting from this crisis, but some are desperate as a Vedanta against a vengeance or whatever it is. But I think there is still resource for this violence to continue. That's why the violence is still going on. There would be a limit of the violence while when people will realize that it's not going anywhere. The peoples like me have to only find out what kind of social, economic, cultural, political orders and goals that we want to achieve. And my objective is to find the means to achieve these goals. So I think we all peace-loving peoples across the communities has to find out the means and the mechanisms to achieve social justice, and whatever goals that I have mentioned before. And we have to try, despite difficulties, to find out a common goal. Otherwise, these walls and this conflict is not going to benefit anybody.
Hey, John, go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is like the complete state complicity and the structure and selective violence is something which the Kuki find it very difficult to accept. Now, there are, as our friend was saying, there are lots of people who want peace among the Meithis as well. And there are lots of people who are also outspoken, speaking about the truth, the fact, based on the ground realities. Unfortunately, there are also elements, I would call them radical elements, who forcefully stop these voices which are coming up from the Meithei community. Just a couple of days back, we have witnessed a strong voice from a lady called Brenda and human rights activist Bablu, who speak the truth about whole incidents of Manipur, where all forcefully and out of their will are forced to, retract on their word, and when their houses are like vandalized. So unless the community come back to the senses, there are third forces which are playing between us, which just wanted to see us fighting, killing, and ultimately, I have been saying from the start of this violence that unless we come back to our sense, both the community won't be a winner, both will be a loser, and it is high time we come back to our sense.
Okay.
And don't give any chance to these third forces.
But Hejang, you have actually said that the rupture between Kuki and Meithi is too deep now. What did you mean by that? I mean, how can you heal if it's gone too far?
Yeah, I'm saying it is too deep because I was saying the state complicity is leading into 140 Kukis kills. Out of 180 people, 140 are Kukis who are killed, who are molested, who are raped, who are tortured, and then 200 plus villages of the Kukis are totally dislodged, burned, and 7,000 plus houses are completely razed to the ground. And the entire Kuki population in the area, we call them valley area. The Imphal valley area has been totally flushed out from the Imphal area. Now, for us, that's why we are saying it is already deeply rooted. That's why for us, when we look at the narrative spread by the state government, even now, it's very one-sided. And for us, it is very difficult to accept the very fact of coming back to normalcy without any political solution. That's what we are saying.
Okay. Malem, let me ask you, because so many have cited the ineffectiveness or worse of both the Home Minister and Manipur's Chief Minister. They've called on them to resign. They have not. How much are those two figures, do you think, to blame for what's happening?
Before responding to that, let me add to what Misao has said. I thought he would be representing the message of peace, but is rather speaking more from a propagandist perspective. I mean, if you talk about truth, and information and truth, nobody has absolute monopoly of truth. Now, truth itself has become quietly contested. I can also give lots of examples to who started what, how many killed, what are the. I will not go into that. I am here to look for some amicable solutions if possible so that the level of violence is stopped. Yeah, that's what I want to say. It's not that I don't have information. It's not that I can't blame him or I can't target one particular community. I am not doing that because it's useless and it's nonsense to do that because we all live in a civilized world. We should look for some other ways. That's number one. Number two, as I said, there is systematic errors and in institutional errors. There were security lapse on 3rd May, and Manipur government is partly responsible for that. At the same time, government of India is also responsible for that because it has the intelligence, it has the money, it has the political network, it has the political nexus to handle the situations effectively. So it seems to me that that the situation could have been controlled or even controlled now, and we could have moved forward to a better situations if there is a political will by government of India to handle the situations amicably. But it seems to me that government of India is also having certain objectives in allowing the situations to go on like this. It might have been designed since the early 2005, which was finally exploded on 3rd May. It's a long history. I'll not go into that, but I think, but government of India also have realized the difficulties of the situation, and it's taking up certain steps which still lacks our satisfaction.
Okay, Hejang, that will unfortunately have to be the final word for this segment of the Newsmakers. I'd like to thank you both so much for being with us. Well, let's get more perspective now from one of the few journalists who's been in Manipur covering this conflict since violence first broke out back in the spring. Greeshma Kuthar joins us now from the region. Greeshma, thanks so much for being with us. I'm just first of all wondering what you make of the exchange that you just heard there.
Well, compared to the last time we had a conversation, which was, I think, sometime in July, both of them seem to have, come to the brink of saying that, listen, we have to speak about how is it that we as communities can resolve this, right? I mean, the previous conversation that I had with you and two others, like Hejang was there, it was a very different conversation. So I feel like from both their sides, though, of course, there is that slight bit of that tinge of, that feeling that we've been wronged. Both of them seem to be speaking about peace in whatever way that they could. So
right.
That definitely is different.
How representative, though, are they, do you think, of the wider populations in Manipur?
Well, there are people from across, like from all the communities here, be it Meithi, Kuki, Naga, everybody who's in Manipur who wants the war to, end, because it's been a while and it's complete status quo in the sense that things aren't moving. The communities are completely divided as they were, back in May and as the, war progressed. But also as things move on, everything else is on a standstill. Economic activity, schools are functioning. There are certain institutions that are functioning, but you know what that means when, the place is in the middle of a war. So everybody is, I would say, fed up to an extent, but there is literally no political will that we could visibly see from either the state government or the central government, other than just some statements, some words. We don't see anything actually happening that would move towards addressing this, as a solution, as what would we do to address the, the apprehensions of both the communities,
right.
not just one.
So, I mean,
I don't see.
Help me understand why the government would be indifferent or ineffective in this conflict. Does it stand to gain something by not taking the action necessary to resolve this?
Well, to begin with, the issue started on the 3rd of May, right? And India did not speak about this issue till the middle of July. All of India was very, very silent about the fact that Manipur is burning, and that includes many of us, many journalists from the mainland. People did not even start reporting about this till that video came out. So that pretty much, would highlight to you how it is that India has always dealt with states, in the northeast of India, especially in Manipur. In this particular situation, if you see, the response was slow. For a month that the violence was ongoing, there was literally no intervention from the center. Even after the Home Minister came to Manipur, things didn't slow down. And when I say things, I mean the violence. It was after the Home Minister came here that there were more incidents of violence. 10 villages were burnt down. There was an incident of beheading of a Kuki person. 2 Meithi young adults were killed. All of these happened well after, the Home Minister came here, well after June, that is in July.
Right.
So, and even as late as September, even as late as last month, there was an incident, where a town was targeted. The last town where Kukis and Meithis were kind of living together and, operating together, so to say, there was a mixed bazaar. That was targeted. There were individuals wearing uniforms of police who came in and tried to target a Kuki village there, who were then removed by a nexus of politicians and state police. And that happened in September. And the central forces were involved. These people who were dressed in these decoy uniforms fired at the central forces.
Okay.
There was, during that altercation, an individual from the central force was injured. So these things, happen with certain gaps, I would say once in 2 weeks, once in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But whether there is, in fact, political will to address this at the level of, this needs to stop. Manipur needs to function like it used to. I don't see that happening.
There's a few other things I want to ask you before we run out of time, because, before you had said that the government was mostly to blame, both in Delhi and the state government in Manipur, for the continuation of this violence. They had been accused of this Hindu majoritarianism policy. Many have cited that. Do you think that is a factor still in what we're seeing today?
Well, the policies of, the present government, that is the present political dispensation at the center, has always been pro-Hindu. I mean, they say that very openly themselves, right? But in the case of Manipur, it's a very peculiar situation because almost both the communities, which is both the Meithis and the Kukis, are, predominantly represented by this Hindu party. Meithis are also represented, their CM is Biren Singh, who is from the BJP, who says that he identifies with the indigenous religion, but also says that he is Hindu, he is completely Hindu. But the Kukis are also Christian. Their leaders are also predominantly from the BJP. Almost all the majority are from BJP. And most of them have not said much. They have not resigned. There are ministers who are part of the cabinet. They have not resigned. So that's the situation. And even from the third community, Naga community, there are particular leaders who support the BJP.
Okay.
So it's a situation where even if they were siding with the Meithis, right, many of whom are Hindu, so they do present to be representing the Kuki community as well.
Okay.
So, and that's one of the reasons why the leaders have been completely silent. And they've not really said anything against the central government. They're continuing to say that, they're having talks with the central government, though we've seen nothing come out of these talks as yet.
Okay.
So it's a very peculiar situation, I would say.
Quickly, there are these accusations that drug traffickers and mercenaries are actually active in Manipur and still driving this conflict to a certain extent. Just tell me quickly if you think we're ignoring certain complexities here that are perpetuating this, or is that really a marginal issue that ignores the fundamental problem?
The CM of this state, of Manipur, even before this war broke out, has been trying to use this propaganda around drugs and propaganda around poppy for various reasons. But there has been an officer from his own community, a Meithi officer, herself, Brinda, who has said that the CM himself is involved. And she has been recently silent. A group called Meithi Lipun, which also shares support from the CM, went to her house and told her to retract statements where she has alleged, the involvement of these groups in this violence. So it is, it's neither here nor there. I mean, they can say what they have to say.
Okay.
That, this is a war against drugs. But then the war against drugs, so to say, has been on for a while. If this was a war against drugs, then why hasn't this particular violence, which is ethnic in nature, not stopped for 6 months?
Okay.
I mean, the Meithi CM and the Meithi leaders are in complete control now of the valley and, of pretty much the establishment. So what is it that they're doing that is not stopping the war?
Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. I'd like to really thank you so much for providing your analysis. It's very valuable. And thanks so much for being with us, and our viewers, of course, for joining us as well. Remember, you can follow us on X, and do be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Andrea Sankey. We'll see you next time.